those that were in attendance, including the Pharaoh or Fir'aun, were not able to. They were all bewitched. So it was only Musa and the magicians out of all the people that could see the true reality of what the magicians were doing. Let's read further on what happened in this epic battle between magic and righteousness. In Surah Taha, the 20th Surah, ayat 66 to 68, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قال بل ألقوا فإذا حبالهم وعصيهم يخيل إليه من سحرهم أنها تسعى فأوجس في نفسه خيفة موسى قلنا لا تخف إنك أنت الأعلى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, then their ropes and rods, it seemed to him on account of their magic, began to move about as if alive. So Musa had some fear in his mind about it. We said, do not fear. Indeed, you will be uppermost. Now, these passages, Surah Taha, the 20th Surah, ayat 66 through 68, what they are telling us is that when the magicians threw down their ropes and staffs, or their ropes and rods, they began bouncing up and down. Now, to those that were bewitched, it appeared as if those rods and ropes actually became snakes. That is what they appeared to have become. And Musa alayhi salam, when he saw them bouncing up and down, he was very worried by that. Now, it doesn't say that Musa was bewitched. It says that he was worried by that. And it appeared as if they were alive. It didn't say that he thought they were snakes. And we're going to talk about how prophets are infallible from being bewitched in a later lesson. But for now, we will be concerning ourselves with the point that the only ones that fully understood what was going on were the magicians and the Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his brother. Because they could just see ropes and rods bobbing up and down. But the other people thought they saw actual snakes. Now, what was the witchcraft that the actual magicians of the Fir'aun used? What incantation did they use to accomplish this feat? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us this answer, and it's in Surah Al-Shu'ara, the 26th Surah, ayat 43 to 46. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قال لهم موسى ألقوا ما أنتم ملقون فألقوا حبالهم وعصيهم وقالوا بعزة فرعون إنا لنحن الغالبون فألقى موسى عصاه فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون فألقي السحرة ساجدين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so they threw their ropes and their rods, and they said, by the might of Pharaoh, we will win. Then Musa threw his rod, and it took hold of and swallowed up all of the falsehood which they manifested. Then the sorcerers fell down prostrating and adoring Allah, saying, we believe in the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of Musa and Harun. Now this is amazing. And this is taken from Surah Al-Shu'ara, the 26th Surah, ayat 43 to 48. I apologize, there was a misstatement there. It's Surah Al-Shu'ara, the 26th Surah, ayat 43 through 48. Now let's just recap over that point very quickly. The magicians, their actual form of bewitching was to say, by the might of Pharaoh, That was their incantation. And when they said that, the eyes of the people were bewitched. Pharaoh himself, even though he was used as an incantation. When that happened, the staffs or rods and ropes that they threw down appeared as if they were actual snakes moving and writhing about. But to the magicians themselves and Musa and Harun, they were merely ropes and rods bobbing up and down. Now when Musa alayhi salam threw down his staff, his became a literal snake and swallowed up all their rods and ropes. Now those in attendance had no idea of what had happened because all of the snakes looked the same. But the magicians understood very well that Musa's staff had become a literal snake and then swallowed up the false magic that they were doing. That snake had consumed the rods and ropes, and then they fell down prostrate, bearing witness to the unity of Allah and the creed of salvation. This is why when you read the passages after, you find the Pharaoh absolutely indignant and enraged, because he has no idea what's happened. He does not understand the implications of what took place, because he was bewitched along with the rest of the people that were in attendance from the Egyptians. So indeed, this is an amazing testimony to the falsehood of magic and to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's miracle and the reality of his miracles. Now we come to the third type of magic, which I mentioned, which is the most dangerous type, and this is where someone submits themselves to, enters into contracts with, or makes treaties or agreements with demons. They make treaties with demons. This is a severe affair, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoke about this terrible event before in Surah Saba, the 34th Surah, ayat 40 to 41. Listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. He says, وَيَوْمَ يَحْشُرُهُمْ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ يَقُولُ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ أَهَؤُلَاءِ إِيَّاكُمْ كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ قالوا سبحانك أنت ولينا من دونهم بل كانوا يعبدون الجن أكثرهم بهم مؤمنون. This is taken from Surah Saba, the 34th Surah, ayat 40 to 41. It says, and remember the day when he will gather them together. Then he will say to the angels, was it you that these people used to worship? They, the angels, will say, glory be to you, you are our protector and not them. No, they used to worship the jinn, and most of them believed in them. So here we have an example of where even the angels are mentioning that there are people who have submitted to the worship of demons and Satans, and they have placed their life in their hands, believing that they have power. When that took place, and when they believed in that, they believed that they were somehow guided, and the angels have said, we have nothing to do with this worship. They were only worshiping the jinn, and they believed in them. So this is the most horrific type of magic that there is. Another passage that gives us guidance regarding the issue of magic is from Surah Al-Jinn, the 72nd Surah, Ayah 6. It is actually named after the jinn themselves, and it gives us startling insights into how humanity went astray with this third type of magic. It says, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ الرِّجَالُ مِنَ الْإِنسِ يَعُوذُونَ بِالرِّجَالِ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. It says, and there were men from amongst humanity that sought refuge and took shelter with the men of the jinn, and they, the jinn, only increased them, people, in sin. Surah Al-Jinn, the 72nd Surah, Ayat 6. So what that is telling us is that the jinn, the people were actually seeking refuge in the jinn. The actual word is ya'udhun. Now this word of isti'adha, which means to seek refuge, is only to be used with Allah.